The slap echoed through the cabin like thunder breaking a storm. Everyone froze, the assistants, the pilots, the security man at the door. For a split second, time stopped inside that private jet. The young flight attendant, trembling, her hands still raised mid-air, realized what she had just done. She had slapped one of the most powerful men in America. A man whose face appeared on the cover of Forbes twice. A man who could destroy a career with a single phone call. And yet, what she didn't know, what no one knew, was that the very next 10 minutes would change everything. Because that flight attendant wasn't just an employee. She was the owner of that jet, and before the wheels of the plane even touched down, she would turn a moment of humiliation into a storm of justice. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks. Your support helps us bring more true, heart-touching stories to light. The story began 3 days earlier in New York City, when Alana Brooks received a call from a luxury charter company asking if she could cover a last-minute private flight. She had been a flight attendant for nearly 7 years, always smiling, always polite, always professional. But behind that smile was a woman fighting invisible battles. Her younger brother, Marcus, had been hospitalized after a construction accident. Her savings were nearly gone. Her dreams of finishing her aviation management degree were put on hold. She needed the money, and so she accepted the job without hesitation. The passengers, she was told, were part of a tech corporation led by a powerful CEO named Jordan Miles, a man who had built an empire of innovation and influence. But when Alana read the passenger list, something caught her off guard. Next to Jordan Miles' name, there were 8 others, executive team. She knew what that meant. Long hours, big egos, and zero respect for the crew. She sighed, tied her hair neatly, and reminded herself, it's just one flight. You've handled worse. When the black car pulled up to the jet that afternoon, the first thing Alana noticed wasn't the CEO but the contrast between him and his team. Jordan Miles stepped out, tall and composed, wearing a dark gray suit with no tie. He looked exhausted but dignified, his deep brown skin catching the golden sunlight. The rest of his team, mostly young executives, laughed loudly, talking over him, treating him like he was one of them, or worse, below them. Alana thought it was odd. She had seen executives worship their CEOs before, but this group seemed to undermine him at every turn. During boarding, one of them, a man named Trevor, snapped his fingers at her. "Hey, sweetheart, more champagne here," he said without looking. Alana forced a polite smile. "Of course, sir." But when she walked past Jordan Miles, he gave her a quiet nod of apology, his eyes filled with something she hadn't expected, empathy. Throughout the flight, the tension grew thicker. The executives talked about power restructuring, asset control, and transfers. Jordan mostly stayed silent, occasionally checking his laptop, his jaw tightening every time someone mentioned a deal. They were heading to Los Angeles, supposedly for a partnership announcement, but Alana could tell something wasn't right. Halfway through the flight, one of the executives made a cruel joke about the CEO's background, something about rags to riches, and playing the diversity card. The group burst out laughing. Alana froze, her tray shaking slightly in her hands. She looked at Jordan, expecting him to defend himself. But he didn't. He just looked out the window, expression unreadable. That quiet pain in his eyes hit her harder than she expected. When she came to serve dinner, Trevor, the same executive, accidentally brushed his hand against her waist. Alana stepped back sharply. "Please don't," she said softly. The man smirked. "Oh, relax. It's a private jet, not a church." The others laughed again. Jordan looked up finally, his voice low but steady. "That's enough." But instead of stopping, Trevor rolled his eyes and said, "Come on, boss. Don't tell me you're getting soft." That's when Jordan stood, his expression suddenly stern. "Apologize," he said. "Or what?" Trevor sneered. "You'll fire me mid-air. You can't even fire us without board approval. Remember that." The laughter that followed was cruel. Alana's stomach turned. She felt the power shift. Jordan, the CEO, was outnumbered, undermined, and humiliated by his own people. She could see it. This wasn't just a toxic team. This was a coup. Minutes later, Jordan sat back down, clearly struggling to control his temper. Alana approached to check if he needed water, and as she leaned down, Trevor made another vile comment under his breath, this time, about her skin, her tone, her attitude. Something inside her broke. The slap came before she even realized it, sharp, clean, echoing through the cabin like justice itself. The laughter stopped instantly. Jordan's team turned in disbelief, some grabbing their phones, some gasping. Alana's eyes filled with tears. She didn't care anymore. You don't get to talk to people that way, she said, voice trembling. Not him. Not me. No one. Trevor staggered back, red-faced, ready to explode. You're done. You're so done, he screamed. You're fired, lady. You'll never work again. But before anyone could speak again, a calm voice cut through the chaos. No, Jordan said, standing slowly. You're done. The silence that followed was heavy as thunder. He walked toward the cockpit, pressed the intercom, and told the pilot to turn the jet around. Everyone looked confused. What are you doing? Trevor asked, still shaking. Jordan turned, his voice calm but cold. You just assaulted my crew. And before you try to lie your way out, this is my jet. My company. My rules. Trevor scoffed. You don't own this plane. It's leased through Brooks Air Charter. Jordan smiled faintly. Exactly. Then he turned to Alana. Miss Brooks, would you like to handle this? The cabin went dead silent. Alana froze. I'm sorry, what? He smiled again. Brooks Air Charter. That's you, isn't it? Your name's on the tail of this aircraft. The color drained from Trevor's face. Everyone turned to look at her. In that moment, Alana finally saw what had been hidden in Jordan's calm, respect. He knew. She nodded slowly, realizing that her secret was out. Yes, she was a flight attendant, but she was also the owner of the very company that leased private jets to high-end clients. She had built it quietly after years of saving and struggle, never revealing her position to avoid favoritism or bias. She still loved serving on flights. It reminded her of where she came from. Jordan stepped aside and gestured toward her. Miss Brooks, as the owner of this aircraft, you have full authority to decide who remains on board. Her voice was steady now, her fear gone. Then they're done. All of them. Every single one of you who laughed, insulted, or disrespected either of us, you're fired. Effective immediately. Within minutes, Jordan made the call to his HR department, confirming her decision. By the time the plane landed back in New York, Trevor and his colleagues were no longer employees of Miles Tech. As they left the jet, red-faced and furious, Alana stood by the door, her hands still shaking but her spine straight. Jordan lingered behind, turning to her. With quiet gratitude. Thank you, he said softly. For standing up, even when I couldn't. She smiled through her tears. No, Mr. Miles. Thank you for seeing me. What followed in the days ahead shocked the entire industry. News spread like wildfire. A CEO who had stood by his flight attendant after she slapped a disrespectful executive. A woman who turned out to be the owner of the very company that carried them. The story became a symbol of dignity, courage, and self-worth. Jordan later offered Alana a partnership, a joint venture between Miles Tech and Brooks Air Charter, to develop ethical travel initiatives and fair employment standards. Together, they built something that changed the aviation world forever. But more than that, they became a reminder to millions that real strength isn't about power, it's about respect.